we're going to skirt a lure and we're going to put the hook set on the lure and get everything rigged up every step of the way except attaching the rod and reel, putting it in the water and dragging it behind the boat and hopefully hooking a fish. Angelo Di Paola, the coastal connection with eXp Realty here at J&M Tackle, the Gulf Coast foremost saltwater outfitter, here with my good friend Brent, and we're talking lure fishing. You know, one of the things that I love, like it's just like in my soul, I love lure fishing. I love sticking out a spread of 4 to 12 rods, depending on who you're fishing with, you know, like I just love it. And I think for a lot of people, like, how do you skirt a lure? How do you pick out hook size? How do you make the hook set? It's still a little bit of a magic trick.
Absolutely.
But you've got all the stuff, so let's get started. I'm going to let you go, and I think we start right here with the hook sets. How do we select hook size for lure head?
Absolutely. So it's very simple. A lot of people might overcomplicate it. We're just going to use this one as an example here. Heavy polokai we got here. Put that over the lure head. You can see it's too big for that lure. You want that lure to be very, very close in size to the hook gap. So something like that, that's almost perfect. So you can judge the hook size by the lure head.
Let me ask you this. So it's really close in size to the hook gap. But the other thing is that lure can clear the hook gap.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I'm just envisioning a fish eating it, and if the head's here and your hook is little bitty,
yes, sir,
he's not going to come down on the hook. Is that like a little bit of the thought process?
I mean, I like to keep it very streamlined. So, you know, you use too big of a hook, you're going to see that huge hook compared to that smaller.
Cool.
It looks awkward. You want something that kind of very streamlined, very very close in size to your fish you're targeting. So, you know, a smaller lure head, you might be targeting some smaller fish, whereas a bigger one.
And your rod and reel and your tackle might be, you know, you've got a big old giant lure. I couldn't imagine that pulling that thing on anything less than an 80 wide.
Yes, sir.
But this seems like it could pull it on a 30 or a 50 and be able to, like, that's an adequate rod and reel for this. And so your hook size kind of needs to match. Everything's kind of matching throughout the process.
Yes, sir. Yes,
All
sir.
right, so we got the hook size. You've got crimps, you got heat shrink, you got hook, you got cable here. What kind of crimps do you like?
So you want to use dissimilar metals.
Because you're going to get electrolysis and corrosion.
Yes,
and you're going to create weak spots.
And that's one thing people might, you know, they think it might be okay to use this copper here. It's not, because you're going to have a lot of corrosion.
Copper and aluminum are going to create dissimilar metals.
Exactly.
And they're going to create corrosion, and then that's going to be the weak spot in your rig.
Yes, sir.
Man, what a great explanation of that, though. Like literally, I mean, most people are just like, let's slap on some crimps and let's go fishing.
Yes, sir.
But you're thinking, I might be using this hook set for couple years.
Yeah.
Let's make sure that we've got it right.
Especially with these stainless hooks, you know, it's not something you need to replace every trip. This is something that'll last, like you just said, years. And that's the hope of it, because they do get pretty pricey.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I'll kind of show you the first step.
You got it all set up.
So I mean, different cable lengths for different size wires, or for different size hooks. Very simple to make these. I mean, it's just, you're gonna pick your size crimp. You're going to pick your size hook. Depending on your lure size, of course, that's going to determine your hook and your length. But just to show you, this does kind of go the same for any kind of hook, any kind of wire size, very similar to make. You know, first steps, just putting it through there, making sure you have just a little bit of tag in, pull it down super tight. This is where I'd take a bench crimper and I'd crimp it. Very simple.
And you're gonna end up, the next step, you're going to have this product right here, right? You're going to have a loop on either end.
So I kind of have it showing here steps. So once you do that, you put your next crimp on. It's going to turn into this here. I like having that crimp the opposite. You like having that loop in line with the loop of the hook, not turn the other way.
the devil's in the details.
Yes, sir.
I mean, what good thought process there.
So it's going to hold that hook
Would
in
you ever put
place
a
better.
swivel there?
I wouldn't, because you like to keep it stiff. So
Okay.
for example, you're going to have it pushed into that
All right, cool.
lure head, very nice and tight. So your next step, very simple. You're going to take your heat shrink, whether you want a stiff rig, which looks like this, or you want a flex rig. That's going to determine whether you use 2 small pieces or 1 large piece of heat shrink. Like this here, that's going to be your flex rig. Very similar to this, just different colors.
Are you a stiff rig or a flex rig guy?
Me personally, I'd probably prefer flex, but
I'm a flex rig guy.
Yes, sir.
At one point, I probably had 50 or 60 of these things. And I mean, I know guys like very good fishermen that this is their go-to.
Yes, sir.
I find my hookup ratio personally better on this.
Yeah, and I think, you know, if that blue marlin's jumping, it's running from you, you're going to have a little less pressure on it. It's going to kind of act like
this has got leverage on it. Exactly. And it's going to, I feel like I lose more after in the longer fights where this has got some give in that. The other thing is I've tried leaving this loose. Not that good of an idea. Well, because like the fish hits here, this moves forward, but when this is loose, your hook stays back here.
It can turn around and get caught.
Yeah. And, all right. So let's say we got our hook rig set up. How do this has always been a magic trick to me, and I've seen y'all do it a couple of times, and I feel like I could do it at my house, but I still just have you guys do it. Yes, but show us how to do it if somebody wanted to come do it.
So skirting lures?
Yeah. How do you skirt them?
Absolutely. Well, first things first is size. Depending on your lure head size, it's going to be different size skirts. So this one here, it's a 7. You can kind of judge it by the lure head size. You want it just a little smaller. You want it tight on there. You don't want it loose.
So you want this a little bit smaller than this?
Correct. Yes, sir. Because you want a tight fit. If you go too big of a skirt, it's going to make it bulgy here, cause a lip, and that's not what you want. So really, it's picking out colors. For this lure, I just picked out something that's going to kind of match with that green and that gold on the side. Does it really matter too much? That's the
man. I want my lures to look good. I don't care
sir.
if it matters for the fish. It matters to me.
Yes, sir.
And I want color coordination.
Yeah, and so you have a bottom skirt and you have a top skirt. First step is you're going to take your bottom skirt and cut that so you have a little tightening
ridge,
here.
Right? Yeah.
Yes, sir. So about halfway in, just going to cut it as flat as you can. Second step, very simple. Flip it inside out.
All
right. So now you have it here. This is what makes it much easier. Take that pledge. That's going to kind of lube it up there. Spray it in there. Push that lure head in. Now you're going to want to align it.
Yeah, you want the lateral line of the skirt matching the 90-degree sides of the lure.
Yes, sir.
Eyeballs, I guess.
Correct. So you kind of look down it as you align it there. That's pretty close. All right, so this is going to be a little hard to explain on camera, but there's going to be 2 lips in here, like you might have seen before. You're going to see a little ring. It's just slightly higher. It's right there.
I see it.
And you want it slid onto the second dovetail of this lure.
Okay.
So that's where you're gonna take your wax line and tighten it right here. So take a good amount of wax line. Actually, won't even pre-cut it, so you'll leave it right on that spool there. I just like to do it right off that spool. So wrap really tight, not too tight, because you can cut the skirt.
Okay.
But I do like it pretty good on there.
I feel like one of those morning show hosts, when they bring the chef on, like I know enough, but then you're like, no, you don't need to cut the line. This is how you do it.
Well, you got more experience actually fishing. I just rig lures back here.
Well, I mean, look, I'm just like you may have more experience eating. I might have more experience. Judging at waistlines, I have more experience than you on that as well.
Absolutely. So I got a good amount of wraps around it. You don't want to do too much because again, it can make that bulgy. One overhand knot, tighten it down pretty good, another overhand knot.
Is this waxed or just?
This is a 30-pound wax line there.
Okay, cool.
So it gets a tight wrap on there. You can keep going, but I've never seen it come undone after 2 overhands. Cut
All
those
right.
tag ends pretty long, and then I just like to fold those tag ends over, make sure they're good. And that's when you're going to take your razor blade here, just cut that excess around there. Again, because that could cause bulging. Just going to make it a little cleaner. So take that off, and perfect there. So you're going to fold that back, and you'll see it's on that back side there.
Yeah, cool. You don't want your lure to have a hernia.
Correct, yes, sir. Again, take your second one there, same thing. Halfway on that squid's head. We'll get that later. And then you're just going to flip it inside out. And then we're going to take that pledge one more time. Just spray it in there. You can never have too much of that.
I mean, you guys make it look so easy. That's how you know they're good at it. When somebody's really good at something, they make it look really easy.
Yes, sir. We got to be the best.
This is why I think the guys from Destin and Baton Rouge and all over the Gulf Coast come here, because they know when you come here,
yes, sir,
it's the best selection, and they got the best guys on the Gulf Coast rigging their stuff.
We try our best. So what I did there was, we have that squid flipped inside out. You're going to take those, the legs that you already have on there, slide it through. So you want the inside out facing down there, and then we're just going to slide it up. Again, it's a little easier to see that ring on this one. So you want that ring to be all the way up.
You want it to be forward of on the forward
of the
collar.
dovetail. Correct.
Cool.
And then another trick you can do, well, is take this heat gun here, and that's going to really help you get that squid skirt on there. So
is this tightening everything down or loosening it up?
So this is actually going to loosen it up, so that way we can align it a little easier. Because once you have a lot of pressure here, because it's tighter here than it was there.
Okay.
So it's just going to make it a little easier, make it settle a little better in the end. I'll show you that. Another thing you can use is this tool. We should be able to get it without that.
Well, y'all have the heat guns and the tools.
Yes, sir. Makes it a little easier. Again, you're just going to line that up there as best as you can.
Hey, and no offense to the guys in Destin and Baton Rouge. Locally, we all come here too. We just know that these guys are the best.
Yes, sir. We appreciate that.
I don't know if I know anybody that's personally skirted their own lures, or that I personally know anybody that personally did it.
That's why I like to, I like to use the stuff that I swear by, because if I can't use it, then I don't know it truly works. So again, you want that lip, that one ring, to be up on the lure head.
All right.
It could be,
Oh, so you want it up on the actual head?
The actual head itself. Yes,
okay.
Sir.
Okay. I see why you have that heat gun then. And
exactly. So, sorry.
No
so
worries.
We're just gonna again tighten that on there.
It's not my floss loop. I'm gonna let you get all you need.
Yes, sir. We might waste a little bit here, but just to make sure it's good. So again, just wrapping it on there a few times. You don't have to tighten it too much. You don't have to wrap all the way down, because again, that's going to cause bulging that you just don't need. This wax line kind of grabs itself, so that's what makes it really nice. I'm going to try cutting that there. And again, just 2 overhand knots, and that's going to hold that perfectly. So tighten. And just finish that one there. Cut the tag ends a little longer. Fold them over. And as we did in the last step, just cut that excess off of there.
But not too deep, because you don't want to cut your one underneath it.
Correct. And you don't want to cut the lure head either. Or you don't want to, kind of etch into it. So I do kind of bite it off there.
All right.
Makes it a little easier.
No. If you're fishing and ain't use your mouth on a fishing tackle, you ain't seen fished enough.
Yes, sir. So then just pulling that off, making sure it sits good, and that's your skirted lure. So very simple.
All right, so we got a pretty long skirt there.
Correct.
Let's pretend we're going to put a hook set on it How long do we want that hook set relative
to the lure? It's, I mean,
yeah.
So again, we picked out our hook that fits that the best. So I kind of, make sure it sits in there good. So it's going to be a little bit short on this one. Again, hook rigs are totally customizable.
Yeah.
So typically I probably would make this just a little bit longer.
Yeah,
for
maybe
this
an inch
lure.
or so longer.
Yes, sir. But I mean, we're just gonna show you the idea of it wherever I put my mono here. First steps, just sliding that mono right through the lure head, just like you would on any other lure.
Yeah.
So, got that slid through. Now we can kind of set that lure aside. We're not going to mess with that for a second. I like double coppers when I'm doing mono. Seems to hold better.
I like the double coppers too.
Yes, sir. We're going to put that, or chafe gear.
So nickel when we're using stainless cable.
Correct.
And then double coppers on mono. I guess you could use aluminum too, but
Yes,
I like
sir.
the double coppers. I think as long as you don't over crimp or under crimp, you're probably going to be okay.
So we're here. All we have is the double copper on there. We have the chafe gear.
Yeah.
And that's when I like to just burn this end, get a good mushroom on it. Make sure you're not burning any of the other mono because that could, damage your main line there. I get a good little burn, press that against there, and let it cool down before you pull it tight. So pull it in there. That way, it's going to perfectly wrap up in there. You have the mushroomed end right there.
Yeah. Yes, it's like a little bit more of a stopper than just the crimp part of it.
Exactly. Yes, sir. And that's, let's see if these crimpers are enough. So I never like smashing it as close as I can. You want to leave a flared end on either side.
Yep.
That's going to help kind of protect that mono. So I do want to show one last step. You'll see here, say you hook a fish and it's kind of wiggling around. See how it kind of locked up there? That's not something you want. That could cause a lot of leverage on that mono there. So what we like to do here is take a little piece of electrical tape, start right at that crimp, and kind of stretch it out a little bit. But you want to wrap it around. Sorry.
It's okay.
You want to wrap it around where that's crimped there. And what this is going to do is just stop it from doing that. This is going to just protect everything in there. So in this lure here, we actually have a hook stopper, is what you call it. So that's
and it's glued
crimp in there.
to the back of the lure.
Absolutely. And that's going to keep that crimp protected, and it's going to keep that hook in place where you want it. So I'm going to pull it up tight, make sure that crimp sits in there. So now that crimp is in there, you have basically a perfectly rigged lure there.
I hope we brought you guys some good value on this video. I'm here with my good buddy Brent, J&M Tackle, the Gulf Coast foremost saltwater outfitter. I'm Angelo, the Coastal Connection with eXp Realty. Catch you next time.
Sir.